And this is the tissue pack cover. And as you can see, I have my tissues in here, and I absolutely love this. This pattern, it has been that we're using is the Inspired Wren pattern, and I can give you that link so that if you want to use their dimensions or anybody else's, you can. What I like about this one is that it has the boxed corners, so it sits up a little bit better rather than it being flat. So I prefer this method to the ones with that are just really flat, but you can leave it either way, and I'll show you what that looks like. So what you're going to need for this project, and it is free and it's on their website, so I'm not giving any information that I can't. You're going to need some tissues. Now you can absolutely buy these um, in a bigger quantity, but I got these from the Dollar Tree, and they come 3 in a pack, and they're just a little over $1. So this is a really inexpensive project. So we'll take 2 of these out, and these are going to be our tissue packs. I am using the cover, so this will be the main body. This is going to be the inside lining as well as the edges, and I'll show you that right here. I used a different black, but that's this, and it also is on the inside. And this time I'm going to try it with stabilizer. Now she doesn't use this for her pattern, but you absolutely can. It'll give it a little bit more structure. So I'm going to see what happens when I try it. So here you can see here, it's perfectly fine without it, but I'm going to try it with it. So the first thing I need to do is stabilize this fabric. So I'm just going to take this, and you can see that it has a rough side on one part and it's smooth on the other. I will take those, line them up ever so neatly, and we will take them to the iron and give it a good press. The stabilizer is fusible, which is why we have the little dots that are on that side. That's the glue side, if you will. And so we're making sure that that's on the wrong side of our fabric. Okay, like that. And there is what it'll look like. The dimensions for this are 7 by 6. So it's 7 inches by 6 inches. Okay. Oops. Should have pressed it on the other side. Let me get that a little flatter. I saw a couple ripples. There we go. Okay. And we're going to do these both at the same time, just in the interest of time. So once this already is attached, let me just give that a good press down. Okay, cool beans. So then we have this. And so this fabric here, which is going to be the inside. So again, here we have the tissue box. I'm going to call it a tissue box, and it's not tissue pack cover. So that's, again, the lining and then this edge. So this is 8.5 by 6 inches. And we are going to line it up with the edges of this. And you'll see it's a little bit longer, which is okay, but we're going to sew both sides. Okay. So we're going to take this to our machine. The measurement for the seam allowance is 1/4 inch. So, okay, we move that 1/4 inch. We're going to take that 1/4 inch foot, and that's what I'm going to use, because why measure it with your eyes when you can measure it with your machine, your needle and your machine and your foot. Okay, right sides together. We're going to line those edges up, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch. Oops, I am on a short stitch. And that's only because when I made the tester, I did a zigzag stitch and I changed the stitch to short, and I'll show you what that's going to look like when we do this as well. We're going to line this edge up because we're doing 2. And these are great quick sews that you can do as gifts, because I am all about the gifts. So that's done on this side. So we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. Line these up. Take them to our machine and stitch a 1/4 inch. Okay. Second one, same thing. Right sides together. Thank you for liking the live. Please make sure you're typing you are clicking like for the live. I appreciate that. And there we go. So we have 1, 2. Okay, and again, this is a really simple and easy project that we're making. So now we have our little tube here, if you will, and we're going to turn this inside out. This is how quick this project is. Okay, so this is the lining, the black, and then the yellow and the black on this side is the front. When I am opening this up, my seams, and I'll show you those, are pointing out. So I want them to go into this black facing. And what'll happen is, with the way this is constructed, it's going to allow me to get an evenness on both sides. This is what I love about this pattern. So I can finger press that, but I'm going to take it to my iron and just give it a good iron. And that'll help it to lay nice and flat. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. And again, my seams are facing the black, the lining, and what's going to be that edge. We're going to finger press it. And then we're going to take it to our iron and give it a good press. And we are halfway through this project. Like to make sure everything is nice and pressed. And we're going to press it again. Let me move these tissues out the way. So everything looks like this right now. And we are going to fold this so that we're not looking at this. So we're looking at the lining. I am going to fold this in half. And I like to see my lines. If I can fold it in half and give it a good finger press, if I can see the line on the inside, I won't iron it. And I can see it, that little fold. So I'm going to line this edge up with the fold. If I can't see it, I'd give it a little press with my iron just to see that line. So I want to get it as centered as possible. And then I'm going to butt this one right up against it. If there's a little bit of overlap, that's fine. Just make sure it's even. Because when you take it and you stitch, if it doesn't have a gap, that's great. So I'd rather have a little bit of overlap than to have a gap. Okay, so it looks like this. Now I'm going to take it back to my machine and I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch across. I'm going to back stitch just because I just prefer to do that to hold everything in place. I can run a little back stitch over where they line up or they overlap just a little. And then I'm going to just do the second one because it'll be easier. So I'm folding this in half. I'm going to finger press. Open this up. I can see that little crease that I made with my fingers. Line up these edges. Using my clip to hold it in place. Because the minute I let it go, if I don't, it's going to pop back up. And if I need to, again, if I want just a little bit of overlap, that's fine. But you don't want much. Like when I mean a little bit, I mean like a hair. Okay, and we're going to take this to our machine. Let me run that stitch just a little bit more to give myself some room. Back stitch. Back stitch. We'll cut this one off. So here's the stitch. We'll turn this on the other side and do the same thing. You just run a little bit of that stitch there. Back stitch. Again, I can back stitch over a little bit. Okay. I didn't clip this side just because I ran out of a clip and I was like, I'm not going to get another one. I'll just wait until I have one. Clip that there like this. And then we're going to run this back stitch. Get right to where they join up and they meet. Whoops. Back stitch over that. And back stitch at the end. Okay. Couple threads to clip if we have them there. Okay, so on both sides. Now, I'm going to say this. You're going to use this like this, and when they take the tissues out of this, you can see those raw edges. If they don't bother you, they don't bother me. If they bother you, then easily enough, I can change my foot out because this foot, as you can see, has a little hole. It doesn't have a space like this one where I could do a zigzag. So I just switch my feet because I want to do a quick zigzag stitch. I'm going to change my settings and I'll show you what that looks like. You can see it right there. So it's still going to be raw edge, but it'll keep this from fraying a lot. So I'm going to set everything that I need to set up for it to do a short zigzag. And I'm just going to zigzag over the edge. Do a little bit of a back stitch. And this zigzag can be as close or as far apart as you want it. Again, this is your decision. Most people are not going to go on the inside and complain a whole lot about that, but I think it just looks a lot neater. I'm using white thread so you can see it, but absolutely you could use black thread and nobody would see that either. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And I'm just running the zigzag so that it's going over the edge of my fabric. You know, like in the day before we had sergers. I'm just getting rid of those extra threads. Okay, so this one's done. Let's do the other one. We'll clip off some of those strays. Because I'll either get them now or I'll get them when I finish the zigzag, but either way. So I'm going to change feet back, so it just makes sense to do both of them at the same time. If I were making a lot of them, I could absolutely use my serger. So I could have my serger set up. I could serge these if you have a serger, but I'm just going to assume right now that because this is a beginner project and most beginners might not have two machines. And then we'll do the second one. And again, I'm using the white so you can see the stitches, but absolutely you could use black because it's going to blend in with this black lining. But there's nothing wrong with the white either. Like I wouldn't go red. Okay, and again, I can just clip some of those strays. Okay, so I'm going to show you. Let me switch my feet. So I'm going to show you there are two ways to do this. And I will show you what one way looks like. So we can have this. We can take this and turn this inside out, right side out, like this. I can poke those edges, those corners, just to get it nice and straight. This is why I wanted to do two, just so you can see the difference. And this is personal preference, which way you want to do this. Again, this is the Inspired Wren. Wren is in the bird, W-R-E-N. This is her pattern. So you can find all the dimensions and materials there. So this could be the final product. This has a flap that lifts this way, and so it lifts like this. She does have a pattern. It'll show you how to do it if it's a top load, but this one is like this, and this will slide right in here. Like that. And then you have your tissue cover, your tissue pack cover. So real quick, real easy. Okay. So this is the one way to do it. This makes it quick. It makes it easy. No extra steps. Or let me press this one because I'm going to need to press it to do what I need to do. You can box the corners. So that's this look. And of course we took the tissues out of it. And you can see again, this doesn't have the structure because I didn't have stabilizer in it. So just adding the stabilizer gives us a different look. Okay, so you can see those box corners right there, all the way around it. So I like the box corners better, but I'm not opposed to not having it like this. And again, if you do more of an overlap, and I didn't do a lot of overlap, but if you do the overlap, then you would have this look more like this, maybe not doubled, but it would close a little bit more on you. That's, again, personal preference as you're making them, whether you want to have them close more or whether it works like this. So in order now to do the box corners, I pressed this. That gave me a crisp edge because what I need to do is take this seam and line it up with that edge. And I feel like for me, I can match that up better because I can feel it and see it if I have that pressed line. That will help to make sure that the corners are as boxed as best as they possibly can. and then I'm going to clip. Thank you for liking the live, and we're going to do this side. So again, like I can feel and I can see that, and it's a little hard for you to see it because it's black and because that fold is there, but I can feel it, and then I'm just going to clip it in place. And I want to make sure that these are going in the same direction. And clip. Oops. Get that out the way. So you can see how the extra step will cause you to go a little slower with this, but I love the way it looks. Okay, so all of them are clipped. Oh, I didn't need to bring this one back. I should have left the other foot on there. Because she says to use 3/8 of an inch, and it's easier for me to see it with this foot. So I'm going to move my needle into place, and what I'm going to do is the edge of this is going to go to 3/8 of an inch. So I have a 3/8 inch mark on my machine. That's what I'm using. We're going to go in, we're going to back stitch it and back stitch. Okay, we'll cut off all that excess at the end, and we're going to do the next one. Make sure everything is laying nice and flat. I'm going over to my 3/8. And I'm back stitching. And I'm going to clip. Let me get rid of that on that side. Get some of the mess off of this side. And we'll do the other side, and then we'll be done. And again, this is your choice. I could actually use my little snips to get rid of those little strays. Right now, I'm just using my big scissors to catch those strays. And I can go back and clean this up later, which I will. And we'll come on this side. And again, I want 3/4. 3/8, I'm sorry, 3/8. And again, these directions are in the Inspired. If I say quilted, I'm wrong. It's Inspired Wren. It's the name of the blog and the AKA website. It is the Inspired Wren. And we have one more side. Okay. You don't have to snip your corners because then you would have to zigzag over them. You could leave them just like they are, which is fine. And then let's flip this inside out. I keep saying inside out. Technically, it's right side out. So I'm just using my fingers to press those, to push those corners. And I'll show you like that, right? Just to press them, pull them through. One more. Just taking my finger. Thank you for liking the live. And let's turn that on this side. And there we go. We can take our tissue. Again, you see where it says lift. That's where the tissue starts. I give these as quick gifts so I don't open the tissues up, because then, you know, who wants to give tissues to somebody that's already been opened? And boom, there we go. Let me slide that back. And here is your tissue cover, your tissue pack cover. You have that beautiful, I love this part. You don't have to use a contrasting fabric. You could absolutely use the same fabric if you like, but it looks like this. And I'll show you the difference. So here, like, can you see the difference between the two? Now, ignore the fact that this is a different print, but this looks a lot more sturdier. And if I feel it, it just feels better. Like you can see how it kind of puffs up, but this one kind of collapses. And that's because this one doesn't have the stabilizer in it. So this one works a lot better for me. I thought that stabilizer would make a difference. So I do prefer to use a stabilizer just to add some structure to it. Again, you can decide, and I am going to go back because I don't want to do it this way, but I wanted to show it to you this way. You don't have to box those corners. So if you prefer not to box the corners, you can leave it like this. It fits. The only difference is that we're just taking the slack out the sides by boxing the corners. So by boxing the corners, you don't have like this dead space, if you will, for this. But absolutely adorable. I love these. I made 3 of these in less than an hour. I could probably make even more if I were just like mass producing these. So as you're thinking about your next craft show, as you're thinking about gifts that you want to give, homemade gifts to your colleagues or, you know, your family members, there is was a suggestion where you could put like a little card in here, and that could be, you know, a way of saying, hey, you know, make sure that you always have these available when you need them, or something cute like that, right? So we can add something right into that slit if we like. But again, the tissues are from the dollar store. So that is 3 of these. The dimensions again for this was 6 by 7. So you're talking about possibly using a fat quarter, 2 fat quarters. And I could probably get 6 by 7. 2 of them would be 6 by 14. I could do 12 by 14, 18 by 14. So I could get about 6 of these out of a fat quarter. The 8.5, I could get probably 8.5 by 6. I could probably get 6 of these, if I'm doing my math correctly, out of 2 fat quarters. The print and then the solid. And then I would buy 2 packs of tissue. So 2 packs of tissue from the Dollar Tree. There's no longer a dollar. It's about $2.50-ish. We're talking about fat quarters that could be about, let's say nowadays it's about $3.50-ish. So that would be 7 plus $2.50. So we're talking under $10 would make 6 of these with your thread and everything else. So 6 of these, did we say 6? 2, 4, 6. It would make, right, it would make 6 of these, at least 6. So we would get 6 of these made out of 2 fat quarters for under $10. You could make 6 gifts for your friends and family. Thank you so much for joining me today for this quick tutorial on how to make these tissue pack covers. And again, you could go back and watch them. This was inspired by the pattern from Inspired Wren, W-R-E-N. I will link it into the bottom in a couple minutes, but I'll link it down there so that you can have it. Thank you for hitting like. Please make sure that you are following along with me and subscribing. I will come up with additional tutorials to show you how to do some of these projects, especially when they are free projects that we can do. So again, thank you everyone for joining me today for making these cute, adorable tissues. And again, the only thing that I did was add a stabilizer to give it some structure. Until next time, have a great day.